The Rationale for the Teaching of Literature, Soundings in Paul Hirst's Epistemology, by Kevin Williams and Patrick A. Williams. Paul Hirst's work is a seminal source for inquiry into the grounds for teaching school subjects or curriculum areas. His essays on the nature of art and of literature reflect his thinking in his early work. His later work on social practices, however, provides a more fruitful and less contested avenue for the project of this essay. This is to probe the complex character of the grounds for teaching literature. Our essay reflects the close analysis of knowledge and the curriculum in his early work and develops insights in his later work. This leads to the identification of 5 strands that form the rationale for the role of literature within the curriculum. The first strand refers to the knowledge of contexts, cultural background, or information necessary to engage with many works of literature. The second strand concerns the role of literature in providing pleasure. The third strand considers the role of literature in offering multiple forms of understanding and insight. Strands 4 and 5 address the place of literature in the educational context. The fourth strand refers to the possibilities offered for education and language by the close study of literary texts. The fifth strand concerns the honing of the ability to propose and defend arguments in the interpretation of texts as a conduit to the development of one aspect of practical reason. Strand 1. Well, what is involved in Strand 1? This strand, which might be called a contextual, refers to the work that must be undertaken to clear the local obstacles to a full understanding and appreciation of a text. Background or contextual knowledge can be required in the study of many works of literature in order to access the individual and social good of the study. This can sometimes require sustained and serious unpacking of beliefs and ideas within literary texts. Strand 2. What about Strand 2? This refers to the pleasure that literature can afford. Seamus Heaney explains this very well. He writes of the poems he learned in his last years at school as touchstones of sorts, where language could give you a kind of aural gooseflesh. This reminds us of the words from The Tempest by Shakespeare. Be not afeard, the isle is full of noises, sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not.
Strand 3. In Strand 3, we show that literature can also provide multiple forms of understanding and insight. This can overlap with the experience of pleasure, although it is distinct. The wisdom that literature is capable of yielding is not to be confused with lessons for living, expressed in attractive images or poetic rhythms. Deriving wisdom from texts is part of the whole experience of reading with understanding. Any wisdom to be derived from imaginative literature is embodied in texts, it is not a detachable addendum. We consider one particular sphere of human activity, medical practice, where texts can offer a significant contribution to, in the words of Hirst, the composition and enhancement of professional identity. This section provides many examples of how literature can enhance medical education. The original inspiration for this part of the essay was the sleepwalking scene from Macbeth, where the doctor explains that Lady Macbeth's mental turmoil is a disease beyond my practice.
Strand 4 addresses the possibilities offered for education and language by the close study of literature. By dwelling on how language functions in literature, teachers can explore its inner workings in generating meaning. Teachers can use texts to help students analyze the fine detail of grammar, syntax, and diction. Exploring an author's choice of language can help young people to weigh the import of words, and by trying synonyms, show how an author has found the most used to communicate precisely. Literature as a repository of language at its most powerful, subtle and sensitive, can serve as a conduit to teaching literacy.
Strand 5. The fifth and final strand deals with the potential of literature to yield an ingredient of truth. We explore Heaney's account of the poet's truth-telling urge and the necessary function of writing as truth-telling. As he writes, poetry's gift is to enable the poet to shed new or clearer light on truth and reality. Though truth enjoys an important profile in imaginative literature, its profile is different from that found in science or historical research. In literature, truth is offered in the form of compelling snapshots of vicarious experience rather than empirical data. The teaching of literature within the school curriculum also provides an important conduit for the education of reason, but this can be a complex enterprise demanding great sensitivity on the part of the teacher. The practical reason that Hirst described, demanded by the exploration of literary texts, cannot be expected to yield absolute and definitive conclusions, but rather defensible and plausible arguments that are open to rebuttal in the light of evidence.
So in conclusion, let us summarise the argument of the essay. 5 strands of the case for the inclusion of literature in the curriculum are identified. These enable us to claim that literature allows educators to achieve many complex forms of individual and social good. Animated by the legacy of Hirst's own searching and illuminating explorations of the relationship between knowledge and the curriculum, the essay draws attention to the multifaceted contribution of literature to the composition and enhancement of personal good lives and the development of personal identities. Thank you.